Good afternoon and welcome. This is another episode of the 4x3 podcast. Well, it has been quite a while since I've done one of these, and I find myself a little bit bored lately, so I enjoy doing these little bits of recordings, and let's get into it. The last time I did one, I probably talked about health and fitness, and well, I still follow health and fitness. I've been on a goal for about 3 months now. You know, obviously, same as my original goal, which was to lose weight. But this time I'm down to about 67 kilograms, or maybe 66, I don't know. We'll see what tomorrow brings. And for the last 3 months, I've actually been working hard with my pull-ups and push-ups training and body weight training and a little bit of weights and things like that. Maybe 3 to 4 months or something like that. I've been slowly losing weight. Again, I'm trying to get to a very slim weight, I guess. One that I'm comfortable with. One that if I have cheat meals, I can actually enjoy it and slip back into good habits. It's been a good ride though. I got down to a rate of about 77 kilos, which I maintained for quite a while. And then I just went and gung-hoed, or whatever it's called, and just went straight into the next step. Let's just turn this volume up. Let's have a look. I went straight into the next step, which was to concentrate on losing more weight. And I'm trying to just get rid of the stomach fat and, basically be slim. It's been going okay. I've had so many ups and so many downs. Dabbled in bad habits here and there, but I've come back and I've come back strong, and then I have a downward spiral on the weight loss journey, but it's been okay for the second year so far. I'm hoping it goes on well into the future. And I've got a method to my madness, and that's working for me. And it's helping me continue on this journey. And there's one thing I did want to talk about, because I keep thinking about it. The more that it happens, so far where I've lived, I have had so many weird instances that have occurred in the area. I guess it goes unnoticed when you live in the city, but in a small country town, in a country, region, rural area, it's more noticeable when weird things happen. And I was on the bus home from my folks a couple of days ago now, and as we were coming through the town of Stall, there was, half a dozen police officers blocking the highway. There were 3 SES and 3 CFA vehicles and paramedics and ambulance. It was just a big chaotic scene, right? And so we're waiting there for about 40 minutes, not knowing what is going to happen. Don't know if we can get through. We don't know anything. And we just arrived as it all unfolded. So in theory, prior to that, this accident that happened in front of us, we didn't witness it, but it had obviously happened, however many minutes, or let's say within a half an hour time frame before we happened to cross that path. And it's interesting, so when we were allowed to go through, and I'll put the video up on the screen, you can see that there's a caravan just upright, but the front vehicle has rolled over, and I think it's completely burnt out, or the front section of the car is burnt out. Now, the thing that I want to get into and that I find absolutely odd so far is I've been near a few of these accidents that have happened in this region. And I like to think it's really weird how I was there at that point in time to these occurrences, whether it's a coincidence or I don't know, because when I seen the wreckage of the caravan flip, I had gone to my folks for a day, but I hadn't planned on going to my parents' house at all. I changed my mind at the last minute and I decided to get on a bus and go there. So the fact that I made a certain decision and then I witnessed that event just really sort of gives me the creeps a little bit. Now, the other times, there was one years ago where a truck had crashed and gone off into the, not an embankment, but like the tax land next to farmland, so in amongst trees on the side of the road, right? And within a year, at the exact same time period, so I think it all happened in September, within a couple of days of each other in different years, another truck had rolled over into the bushes on the side of the road, but in a different section of the highway, right? I don't know, it's a bit weird that I was there at that point in time to have been a part of that, to have gone past those two accidents. And even last week there was a different accident that I went past or near, that I was detoured around, right? And this was where someone didn't notice the roadwork signs, obviously, and they crashed right into the back of someone else. I was there for that also. What else? I don't know, there's just different, I don't know, I've gone past like trucks that have burnt out, and I've witnessed that as well. I'm trying to think of, there are other things, obviously, so like, oh yeah, so my neighbour, for example, she last year, she was hit by a truck where we live, and we happened to be just in town at the time, and we seen pieces of her on the road, which was not a good thing at all. But the night before that happened, I went to my other property and I looked over at, there's a hall next to that property where this lady had worked and done some, and hung out there, and of the evening time. I thought it was bizarre because she had half the shed open, and in the past, what that meant was that they had been robbed and someone left the shed open. So this time I was like, that's a bit weird, odd, whatever. And so I got a weird feeling about that. And then the next morning, as I was going on my morning walk, I usually take the highway side. But I decided in my brain, I'm going to detour. And I detoured. And then for some reason, me and my family went to that property in that morning, and we were hanging out there. It's like out of nowhere. That's just randomly what we did, and don't know why, but we did that. And we looked over at the highway. Police came, blocked off the highway, and cars and trucks were being detoured down our street, or had to turn around and whatnot. And a truck went down our street, and the truck, I don't think it was going to do anything but go down the street, I guess. But if it hadn't, or if we hadn't have been there, everything would have been a little bit different. Just, it's really odd that we were there for that as well. So he tells us that apparently there's body parts on the road, and we were curious without thought, without reason. We go to our immediate neighbour next to that property, and we asked to go and look at the highway because apparently there's body bits on the road, and sure enough there was. And we seen that and witnessed it. And basically, well, it was a bit traumatizing. That whole day was very, very quiet, extremely quiet. And then later in the day, we found out it was our neighbour, and everything was just weird. It was the most quiet experience of that day, I'd like to say it was all day, because there was no highway traffic, there was no noise. It was just calm, peaceful, and the world had just ended at that point in time. But the fact that I like to point out is we were there at that point in time. Our brains told us to be there. There's so many odd instances where the brain tells you something and for some reason something occurs. Like, for example, I despise this so much. I hate it, and it grosses me out. But I don't know who does it, what company, whether it's the police or whatever. There's these trailers that they put on the side of the road, and they have like speed cameras on them, and basically they're placed in a location where you have no choice but to go past it. I found I could have gone around in the first place. Not that I was speeding or anything, but the point is, the other day, the first time I'd seen this bloody trailer thing, I didn't avoid it because I didn't think I could go around it at all. And then out of nowhere, randomly after 2 years, just outside of my township, I was pulled over, targeted, and I had to do a breathalyzer and a drug test. Didn't get anything out of me, but quite literally, it's because I go out at the same time, and I try to avoid going out at the same time every day. But those cameras would have to be knowing exactly when I go to town and exactly when I leave town. So if I'm out at 9:30 in the morning or 8:30 in the morning and I go past the traffic cameras, right, it's going to tell me that I entered that township at that time and I'll leave at a particular time. So that would give a key indicator to Highway Patrol that let them know that they leave that town this time. And it sounds like I'm looking into it too much and that I'm a bit crazy about it, but I hadn't been pulled over in 2 years until those traffic cameras were there, and just somehow at that point in time, Highway Patrol basically were there to pull me over outside of my town, where that trailer is put 10 minutes down the road in the other town over. So needless to say, I avoided that, but I'll get to the second point. The second point is the other day, like I'd started going around that section of road because I didn't feel comfortable. I just don't like it. And then the other day I just went, oh, I'm sick of going around, and I went straight through town again. Now, they'd moved the camera trailer to the opposite side of the road. I mean, it's just, I find it weird how I change my mind and do something else, and then, or become slack rather, and then all of a sudden the appearance is back. It disappeared, I know that for sure, because I went to check if it had disappeared the first time. It did, but for some reason when my brain told me something, then that secondary thing occurred. There's been so many instances like that where my brain is like slack, tired, weird, and then all of a sudden something occurs that's just weird and strange. Like, for example, and the reason why I bring this up is because I have very much a huge hate for being pulled over. Every time. I've done nothing wrong, right? And it's just nerve-wracking. They would know this and they'd play on my emotions, right? So, another instance, last month or something like that, Highway Patrol passes me, and when they usually pass and then they want to turn around and pull you over, they're usually like a kilometre down the road, and then they make the decision to turn around and then quickly speed up to catch you, which is total hilarity and irony right there. Right, so I passed them just before the next town, right? I at this point in time, I freak out a tiny bit, right? So I turn into the town over, and then I don't even know what I'm doing at the point in time. I'm tired. I'm just like, what am I doing? And I thought I see them drive past on the highway, thinking that they were going to pull me over, right? Then I do a U-turn, go back and go to the major town and do my shopping, right? Then somehow later on, the same highway patrol that passes me is behind me, pulls me over, does the whole routine check and everything, and then the bloke says, I reckon I pulled you over before. And I don't know if he meant before as in the day of earlier that day, or if he was referring to the time period where they pulled me over outside of the township that I live in. Anyways, see, I just think it's really bizarre that that type of thing happens, that my brain doesn't consciously speak certain things out loud, but when I think something happens that's just odd and I can't explain it. It really is an interesting, I don't know, I just find it interesting how you could be in a certain place at a certain time, and if you'd made another choice you wouldn't be there. I don't know, there's just so many other things that I'm just trying to think of. Like, even in the long scheme of things, like, for example, the choices you make and how you end up living where you live seems to be one of those things as well. Or like, I've seen this discussion online before where people talk about 2020 and what happened for a few years following that, with the virus, and people talking about where they were in 2019 and what their life was. Now, mine was in 2018 rather. I wanted to live off the grid and live a minimalist lifestyle. Obviously things change a little bit, But then we ended up leaving, getting a caravan and starting a life of trying to save money to buy land and ultimately succeeding in that. But it's like, how many people decided to change their life around 2019 up until the moment of 2020 when everything went all weird? And for us, it was living off the grid or changing the lifestyle in a different way, right? And there's a fair amount of stories out there online that talk about the weird things that people started doing before 2020 occurred. It's almost like they set people up to become prepper types. I don't know. It just, I don't know, it's just a weird world. And I got my neighbour mowing their lawns. I wonder if anyone has the same neighbour in a rural setting that is so paranoid about their lawns. Yep, there it is. Paranoid about their lawns being so high that they, wow, okay. That they decide to mow it every 2 days. Where I just leave my lawns because they never become too high and they, I don't know, are always drying out. They never reach a height that they need to be mowed, and I think that that's the same with my neighbour. Very paranoid in that way. But everyone has their own, I guess, paranoia about things, I guess. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. One of them is like a continuation of weird things that happen in my area. I have had a few, and one of them is that when my neighbour passed away, well, before she was hit by the truck and whatever, she gave me a magpie book, basically an Australian magpie book. And recently, this is after she'd passed away, a magpie had, I thought it was swooping me, jumped on my shoulder, and then leaped off the shoulder, and then looked like it was going to jump on my child's shoulder as well. But it was being a little bit friendly, so we tried to hand feed it. It came up to us slowly. I was teasing it, like, playing with its beak, assessing it. Eventually it went on my arm and just was very friendly. And then I never seen it again after that day. So I just started thinking it was like a spiritual thing to do with my neighbour that passed. And I don't necessarily believe in that type of thing, but I do believe in just weird instances. And I believe in karma, and I believe in, I don't know, things just happening that you just can't explain. But yeah, I will go through a couple of things that have happened without being too elaborate about it. Another thing is, and this is in a rural setting, the other property down the road from us, there was a day where, like, there were a bunch of white aeroplanes just circling the property. It looked like they were performing, I don't know, practice or what have you. But it's just odd that it happened to be right above our property, right above our township. At that point in time that I witnessed that at that moment. There have been other occurrences where there's been like a random dog that just comes in the front yard, just wanders around the yard, and how it ended up being in that point in time, I don't know. And another instance, there were two dogs that were just passing our property, and like one of them came up to us, and then we put it in the car, transferred it to the other property, then put on Facebook if whoever's dog is missing, whatnot. The farmer came to our property and we gave the dog back. It just happened to be across the highway. Just weird shit. Like, how does it happen is just what I'm interested in. How it occurs, how it ends up being like that. Another instance, there was a baby rabbit caught in, or baby hare rather, caught in the fence of our other property. It's like a little one. We ended up looking after that until it, died. What else? I've seen foxes randomly. Goannas just come into our yard. That's not weird stuff, but that does happen. What else is there? There's a few things that have happened that's just been strange. Like, the weird stuff that I do and I think is weird. I like to walk in the bush. At the time I didn't get to know my neighbours, but I went for a walk in the bush and I like to make little huts and whatnot randomly. And there was one time I had a backpack on, and this was at a time period where people were a little bit vigilant about some bloke that was actually living in our reserve, and he was stealing from properties and whatnot. So they were a little bit cautious, about people like that. And the guy used to walk around with a backpack and whatnot. So I was paranoid about getting in trouble. I had my backpack on. I seen one neighbour. I seen another neighbour. I obviously freaked out. How did I end up at that point in time? I don't know. And it's one of those things you have to learn. You have to learn people's patterns if you want to go out in the bush. You have to, be careful. Because people can get the wrong idea, and they have in the past. And this is why I believe that people get caught out for their actions eventually. Depending on, it doesn't matter what it is, I guess. I think that people ultimately get caught out in their actions because you can't do certain things forever. I guess some people probably can get away with things, but most people probably can't. Like, for example, if some husband is like hiding away and eating a bunch of food and, thinking he's getting away with it, doing the sneaky cheating on his wife with food type thing. I think that's hilarious, but right now I'm sort of not in the mood to just talk, am I? I've got this light just blaring at me. I feel like being creative, but I also feel not lethargic, but a bit tired. I could talk 30 minutes more, but I feel so like, ugh. I do have like a fair amount of stories. Oh, my fucking toe is so mank. Is that the same one? It's like these weird blistery things that I get above my toenail. And now there's like, I think it's because I'm wearing no socks with my tight shoes. Now I've got like a blood blister. Hopefully it's not gangrene and I die, But this health and fitness thing, it's been It's been going on for a while. I will say that I was 77 and I did lose 10 kilograms, but my selfish mind thinks I'm taking way too long to achieve the goals that I want to achieve, which I think is almost fair enough, because if I didn't screw around with certain things that I had been doing, instead of just continuing to work hard, I'd probably have reached my goal by now. And but I'd just get back on track and all's good again. Anyways, for anyone listening, thank you. I enjoy this type of thing. I enjoy filming random things and talking on a microphone. It's therapeutic. And hopefully I'll do another one of these. And thank you for listening. Bing, bing, bing.